I'm Jess Dakotas.
And I'm Nick Koziel. Welcome to That Sounds Terrifying, the podcast where we share terrifying stories, we share listener experiences, and we visit virtually some of the most haunted places in the United States and the world. Welcome back, everyone. For us, it's Halloween, so spooky season at its peak. Super
Mm.
excited to have you back here on That Sounds Terrifying, where our real lives are actually more terrifying than the show lately.
It's true. It's
So
so busy. Everything's so busy.
yeah, yeah,
Everything's
and
falling
it's
apart.
crazy. We got people in hospitals in my family. We got people
I'm
like
so
running around like
sorry.
crazy. But we wanted and we are committed to the show. We're like, we're
Yeah.
going to get an episode out on time next week. But definitely having some really cool content on the socials. So make sure you're following us. We've got two like brilliant interns that are really starting to deal out and dole out, great content. So be
Yeah.
on the lookout.
I'm
Um,
digging what they're doing. It's cool.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. They're like halfway through their experience, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna
Already?
do? What am I gonna do in December when they're done? I'm like frantically and Morgan and Meadow, if you're listening, I am frantically trying to find things for you to do to like build content out to like 2026. Um, So, but no, they're doing a really great job. So
They are. They're awesome.
I'm hoping
So many
our
good
fans are
ideas.
watching it. Yeah, yeah. Um, so
Yeah.
so just you've got like one really big story today that you wanted to bring to us that's truly terrifying. So I'm like, I'm
It
peaked here.
is
I'm
it
really
is
interested.
very it's very terrifying. And I don't so it's from Reddit. And I it's just it is a scary story. Take it as you will. I don't necessarily think that this is a true story, but
Oh,
it is a scary story and it could be true. It could very well be true. I just don't know. But it is a longer story and I'll take you through.
okay.
But it's definitely not our typical it's not our typical kind of story. So,
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Like I said, my
yeah,
interests were piqued and I'm super excited. And maybe we
as you
should go
should
with our
be.
catchphrase, without further ado.
Without further ado, happy Halloween, everybody. I was in the
Yeah.
mood to get real scared. Okay. This is called I Climbed the Stairs in the Forest and Still Regret It. 13 years ago, I went mute, and I finally am able to talk about what happened. From a young age, I was an extroverted and stubborn girl. Although I always listened to my parents, at 12 years old, I felt rebellious. My neighborhood held a Girl Scout camp. Every year, my parents didn't allow me to go, but this time I felt old enough, which was my first mistake. Me and Kelly, my best friend, begged our parents, but they refused because they are responsible adults who cared about us. But to us 12-year-olds, they seemed like monsters. So I made a plan. We told our parents that we are going to Katie's house for a sleepover. They talked to Katie's parents, and we did stay at Katie's for approximately 12 minutes, and then we left for our epic camping trip. Kelly decided on the place, Luddenberg Woods, and that was our second mistake. Kelly and I had been best friends ever since we were little. Recently, it had been her birthday, and I gifted her a unicorn bracelet that she never took off. Our neighborhood is surrounded by woods. The Girl Scout camp took place in the eastern part of Wisteria Forest, so we were quite far away. We didn't really have any camping gear, just 2 pillows, a blanket, a small Barbie tent, a flashlight, and some snacks, enough for a day. We rode our bikes from Katie's to the woods. At first, everything seemed nice. We heard birds chirping and cars go by. The weather was nice and warm. We saw squirrels and rabbits jumping around. But as we went on, the forest grew thicker. We were tired of running around, so we sat under a dark shaded tree. We ate our snacks and I tried to scare Kelly, but what happened next terrifies me to the core to this day. As we started walking down the wrecked trail again, we couldn't hear or see any animals. The only sounds we could hear were the rustling of the leaves. There was an eerie presence in the woods. I felt uncomfortable and suffocated. And then there was a sudden cloud burst. It felt like the whole woods were closing in on us. An ominous feeling wrapped around me, and the trees looked like tall, intimidating creatures. The peal of thunder startled us, and both of us ran for shelter. In a state of panic, I realized Kelly was missing. Fog surrounded me, so I couldn't see anything, but I could feel she wasn't there. After I calmed down, I investigated my surroundings and scouted for Kelly. As I said, where I live was quite warm, but here it felt like it dropped at least 10 degrees. Anyway, while walking down the path, I noticed something. It was iron? As far as I know, it wasn't natural. Why would there be human-made stuff so deep in the forest? I walked closer to it, and betwixt the fog, I saw an iron staircase. It seemed new, polished, and untouched by nature, almost as though time had stopped for it. It seemed like someone had cut the stairs from a house and put them there. I was so mesmerized by them that it didn't even register to me that all the sounds were blocked off. At this point, I could hear nothing but my own breath. Looking at the stairs, I felt an unexplained, morbid feeling to climb up them. At that time, I felt like it was a must to climb. I had no choice. So I did. I started climbing them. And with each step, I felt disconnected from reality. Nothing mattered. Eventually, I couldn't hear my own breath. Or was I not breathing? You may think that creepy sounds and screams are scary, but no. Silence, dead silence, is the most terrifying thing that could destroy a person. This type of silence will make your skin crawl and make you want to rip your ears out. There was only one final step between me and whatever lies beyond. The last thing that I could recollect was feeling a push. That's it. I fell and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, it was still pouring, even heavier than before. And after I made sense of what was happening, I felt like being watched. Then I heard my name, Rebecca, in a low, distorted voice. It didn't sound human. I got up and looked around and saw the thing that haunts my dreams. Every last thread of hope was shredded by this deep despair. What I saw was a thing so horrifying that I can't even begin to describe it. It was tall and had 2 dark holes for eyes, a huge, distorted grin which stretched from one side to the other, and it had huge limbs with sharp claws covered with disgusting blood. I was petrified looking at it. It continued to say my name in a now childlike voice. Rebecca! Rebecca! It began to walk towards me, repeating my name in the same disturbing voice. In a state of panic, I searched for a weapon, and my eyes landed on a piece of wood. Without thinking, I swung the piece of wood, hitting it until it was a bloody mess. After I realized what I had done, I ran away. I kept running and running. In my attempt at escaping that demon, I barely noticed the sounds of the woods. Panting and gasping for air, I finally made it out and dashed to my home away from the deadly forest. I broke in and started crying hysterically. Kelly's parents, the Adams, were also there talking to my parents. All of them shared the look of despair on their faces. There were cookies on the coffee table which were untouched. My once sugar-loving parents were now anxiously making phone calls. My angsty teen brother was actually out of his room and nervously listening to the conversation. Kelly's mom, Mrs. Adams, who once was a fashion diva and always wore makeup, was rough and sobbing, and even Mr. Adams, the most cheerful person I knew, was on the verge of tears. When their eyes met mine, they were completely taken aback. My mom threw everything, including the expensive new cell phone, and ran towards me. They hugged me so tight it was hard to breathe. All of my anxiety faded away when my mom brushed the dirt off my face. For a second, everything was roses and butterflies until I saw the look on Mr. and Mrs. Adams' faces. I could feel hope blossoming in their hearts. Their hope was like beautiful stained glass window, which was shattered by the despairing news of the absence of their daughter. When they questioned me about where Kelly was, my silence gave them the answer. I could see the color drain out of their faces. The forest rangers searched the entire forest until they came across a battered mess, which DNA confirmed to be Kelly. It seemed that she was repeatedly beaten with a blunt object. She seemed like
Jeez.
an unrecognized pile of flesh. Kelly, who was once a high spirited girl obsessed with unicorns and nature, was now a part of the soil. We identified her because of the bracelet I gifted her, which was also covered with blood. Nearby, they found a piece of wood covered in blood, which was Kelly's and likely the murder weapon. There was no trace of fingerprints, no footprints, or any other evidence due to the torrential rain, giving an upper hand to the culprit. Now, even after 13 years, they couldn't identify the perpetrator of this crime. I've told this traumatic tale to many, but there's one detail I always fail to mention. After hitting the monster, my eyes laid upon the lifeless body of my best friend, Kelly Adams.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That is a
that's scary.
that is terrifying.
It was terrifying and sad and scary all at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that was a twisted tale, and my God, like and admission of murder essentially. Holy moly.
Yeah, exactly. But like it like made her think and she was hallucinating, I guess, that
Right.
I don't know, but it was a kid's voice too, which was probably her friend saying,
Yeah.
Rebecca, Rebecca, you know.
Yeah.
But how would a 12-year-old, this is why I don't think it's
Hmm.
real. How would a 12, I mean for many reasons, but how would a 12-year-old uh beat someone with a piece of wood so badly that it was unrecognizable? A
Hmm.
12-year-old girl especially,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
that would
Like,
be
I guess it's one of those things like where the fight or flight kind of thing, and you're supposedly getting adrenaline, and like um, would gain that superhuman strength kind of thing. The thing that like also like makes me think it wasn't her, even though she kind of did it, is like if she were to go back home
Mhm.
and like tell this like story about her being in the woods and everything, like she'd be covered in like blood and everything. Like,
Mhm.
you know, when you do that kind of a thing, I mean, like you hear it all the time on the crime shows. It isn't, you can't just hurt someone that badly and not have evidence on yourself.
Right.
It goes everywhere, right? Um,
Right. That'd be strange. Yeah, she would have blood on her.
oh yeah, all over her. Like
Yeah.
and like even if it's raining and all that other stuff, you'd have like muddy footprints or something. There'd be other stuff, right?
Hmm.
So it kind of reminds me there was like a series, and I think it may have been named something like The Stairs. I thought it was a series, but like as soon as you started saying about stairs appearing in the woods, like it was on like Netflix, and it was like there a boy and his grandfather or father was out there, and then like these stairs appeared, and then it became like this crazy it went from mystery to like crazy fight for their lives kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
but have you heard of that before? Like I've heard of that a couple times about stairs
Stairs in
appearing.
the woods.
Yeah.
I've heard of stairs in the woods before. It's like a common thing. Kind of like how like you hear kids floating downstairs safely, stairs in the woods pier, but like I don't know, like I don't tend to believe that
Yeah.
necessarily. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I mean like I've seen some crazy stuff too, so maybe this was silly, but also this story they switched the name from Kelly to Katie a bunch.
Hmm.
And I was like, wait, is it Kelly or is it Katie? Is it
Right.
Kelly or Katie? Like I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, oh, there you go, right there. They're not very smart criminal, like trying to cover up their tracks, and they changed the name so like they can get away with it. But they changed it from back. Yeah. Or it could be just one of those
Yeah,
things where they like try to like repost it on Reddit but change some of the details. So they
it could be. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange because like they were like, yeah, we're staying at Katie's. Um, but I don't know if like Kelly and her took off. It's kind of confusing. But
yeah.
Either way, yeah. So maybe they, Katie's parents were blissfully unaware and Kelly was there and it was just Rebecca and Kelly. I don't know.
Hmm.
I thought it was her and Katie. And then at the end I was like, Kelly Adams. I was like, wait, there's Kelly. So I don't know. But it was a spooky story, and that was submitted on Reddit by EVEAR1A, Evere1A, I don't know, 3 years ago. So
Hmm.
I thought it was kind of neat. Just a
Yeah.
fun, spooky, scary, terrifying, awful story.
Yeah. Yeah. It really
Um,
was. It was terrifying and, you know, very mysterious. It was like you said, it's unlike anything we've talked about, kind of read about and
right.
on the
Happy
show.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
You're listening
And
to it a week after Halloween, so you
right.
probably already have your Christmas tree up, but it's
Yeah.
Halloween in my heart all year round. So,
Yeah. That's what this show is all about, making Halloween all year round. And
mhm.
kind of in spirit of Halloween and after everybody has gone through it, maybe we this will be kind of super fun too. But like I thought I'd ask a couple questions, of you about, different things about Halloween and stuff. And then
Sure.
I can kind of share my feedback on those things too. But like, so what is like the best costume you've like ever seen or you've ever done?
Best costume I've ever seen. Oh, it's a good question. I don't know what I've ever, but so I'll tell you my favorite costumes I've done.
Sure.
Um, so one year, Evan and I were the Charmin bear and the toilet paper roll. And because Evan had a bear costume. And so I was like, we could be the Charmin bear. So we went and got like Charmin, like the big pack. And like
Yeah.
I dressed in all white and I had like a white beanie on. And I put the Charmin like
All
thing
around.
on my
Yeah.
front and back. So I was a Charmin toilet paper. And then and Evan had like the little we put toilet paper and pinned it onto his bear butt on
That's
the
creative.
bear
That's
costume.
awesome.
That was funny. I liked that one. I was like, we won Halloween this year. Um
Yeah, I would think so. Um, I grew up, but my kids grew up in Dryden before we moved, and there was my favorite costume ever because it like incorporated horses was the headless horseman. And so there was two people that owned horses and they rid them with like lanterns attached and they
oh,
had no heads. The costume was amazing and they would like kind
that's
of
cool.
just ride around the streets until it got like really dark. But like it was amazing. And it, like they to me they won Halloween. And it was like every year they did it that we were there, so I was always
That's
looking
neat.
forward to the headless horseman. I had no idea who they were.
Yeah,
So if you're listening and you're the headless horseman in Dryden, New York, please let me know. Um
that's cool.
yeah, so that's like my favorite Halloween thing that I've ever seen. But so you were the Charmin Bear. Was your favorite costume or?
Yeah, it was just the funniest that I like could think of. I mean, I've been other things. I don't know. I feel like nothing that like stood out. I was always kind of like standard stuff. I was a
Yeah.
gangster one year. I thought that was fun, like with like the fedora and the,
Hmm.
the pinstripes and stuff. I was Bonnie and Clyde in eighth grade and won a
That's
costume
cool.
contest. I was Bonnie and my friend Michelle was Clyde.
Yeah.
We won like the costume contest for eighth graders.
Yeah, I was
Um,
I was like a vampire like a lot of the years and stuff like that. And
yeah.
and one year I was the Crow. Like I was a
Oh
huge
wow.
Brandon Lee fan and I was the Crow
Yeah.
from
Seems been
that
very
and that
sad
yeah, that he actually passed away on my
on
birthday.
that. Oh, really? And on
Yeah.
that set.
On that set, he was shot by a prop gun and it had
Hmm.
a piece of, I think it was like a cotton piece that ended up hitting him. And unfortunately, the actors didn't know that was shot. And so they thought he was acting really, really well. And
Mm.
by the time they kind of figured it out and tried to save him, it was kind of like too late, and his father met a tragic death too. So kind of was sad all around. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's kind of terrifying in itself, that story. And there's been a couple incidents over the years with prop guns and things like that, or even real guns on set, which
Mhm.
have been ended in tragedy. But um other things like, have you ever had like a really scary experience in Halloween?
Yes. Yeah, very.
Do you want to share that,
Um,
or?
yeah, no. So we were, I think I did share this before. I've shared
Okay.
it before, where we were in Oneonta. It was my friend Sam. We were freshmen in college, my friend Kayla, my friend Sam. We were visiting Kayla's family
Hmm.
in Oneonta. And we were driving around and it was dark out and like we were just cruising around Oneonta. She was showing us stuff. And a car passed us and didn't have his lights on. And it's dark out. So she flashed him, like, neighborly thing to do. Hey, your lights are off. That car started following us like immediately,
Hmm.
as like right on the bumper, really terrifying, really scary, like just everywhere. And she was like, "Oh, I know where we can go." So she like got enough ahead of them. We were going very fast too on these like
Hmm.
country roads, which not smart, right? And I just turned 18 too. Like I was just we were young,
Hmm.
and so we were driving really fast and we went into a graveyard on Halloween. What other place, and we had lost them,
Hmm.
luckily. So we were in the graveyard. She's like, we're just gonna like go cut through the graveyard. That'll put us back out on main road and we'll be okay. Well, I was like, okay, great. So we felt more calm. We're in the graveyard. We were crying in the backseat. Sam and I were like crying. We were
Hmm.
so scared because these people were just like revving their engine at us and like right on top of us. And I remember Kayla just had to go so fast to get away from them. And then so we pulled out of the graveyard and she's like, okay, good. So we turn left. And as we turn left, boom, these headlights come on outside from behind us and they start chasing us again. And so I was like, get to your town, wherever the town is, get to it. Are we close by? I was like, find the freaking police. And this is before
Yeah.
smartphones, right? Like we
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
smartphones. We had flip phones. Um, and we were lucky to have those. I didn't have enough minutes on my phone,
Right.
So I was like, get to a police station and just pull into it. That just find the police station. She's like, well, I know where it is. So we're driving for another. I mean, this was going on for God, half hour, 40
Right.
minutes. It was a long time, and
Yeah.
and we were
Probably felt like an
scared.
eternity as it was. Yeah.
It was a really long time, and they would not stop. And so we pulled into. I never felt so much peace in my life. We pulled into that police station, and
Hmm.
then we just like parked next to the cop cars, and they just kept going.
Right.
They were like, okay, we've pushed them too far, or we don't want to get in trouble, or something. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
that so another terrifying story. Yeah, I
yeah.
do remember you telling that, but it's good that you
Mhm.
retold it because I think, it's Halloween and we're
It's
telling stories
Halloween.
about after Halloween.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
do you have time for one little more one that I experienced on Halloween?
yes.
Halloween for me, I love getting dressed up and things like that. And one year I sort of was challenged, actually by my girlfriend at the time, and she's like, "You should be a girl for Halloween, right? Be funny." Okay. And
Yeah.
I had long hair and all that. So it made a lot of sense and it was somewhat easy. So I think I even borrowed her, I can't remember if it was her cheerleading outfit, whatever it was, but I was like total out girled out. They did my makeup, they did my hair, all that stuff. Went through all of school, people like I remember one of my guy friends is like, God, that's like creepy. Like you could be, no, kind of a
He
thing.
was he was attracted to you.
Right, right. Questioning. No, but like, so I'm not saying that I was a hot girl, but like, anyways, like it was believable. So we all went trick-or-treating that night, and we used to go out to another town over, and I would walk out with my friends, and we'd go to the town because they have better candy and stuff. But there's an easy way to get through it, and you kind of cut through a really shady part of town, or like a part where like my parents, yeah, you shouldn't go, like through there. And so we cut through there, everything was fine. But then at night, it was night, but at the end of the night, everyone went their own separate ways. A couple people got picked up, and I was totally in the other direction. So I ended up walking home alone. So in the dark, like it was it wasn't a very well lit area, and Halloween night. So I'm walking alone with my bag of candy. I think I was like 15, 16. So I wasn't like super young. But all of a sudden, I had like this creepy feeling that I was being followed, and it was like silent, right? So like I'm walking and I'm kind of hearing my footsteps because I had like really loud shoes. And then I'm like hearing shuffling kind of behind me. And I looked behind me. I couldn't really see anything. But then it kind of came into one street light and there was this guy walking like behind me. And he was creepy looking. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
I quickened my pace and stuff. And going through this really kind of shady part now. And then when the next time I look behind me, it's two guys and they're like walking behind me. Good, respectable distance, but still kind of getting closer. And when I turned around and saw three, that's when I like booked it. And I just like ran, and it was probably nothing at all going to happen, but it was really creepy. And so I could, after that, I'm like, I can always relate how, some young or just one, a woman walking alone in the dark could get really scared really quick because
Any woman.
anyone, anyone,
Any woman.
any
Yeah,
person really, but
yeah,
especially women. I just
yeah.
totally understand a lot more because I kind of shared that story, with my friends. Like, yeah, well, that's what we live like every night. So, but anyways, very creepy,
Yeah. You
very
walk with your
scary,
keys between your knuckles to
right?
make sure if you're like, I find myself having to walk in the dark a lot alone in the city and, elsewhere. And I walk with,
Mhm.
weapons.
Yeah,
Like I got my keys between I got my pepper spray ready to go. It's
you're like
scary.
you get
It
all
is.
Wolverine, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
do. I mean, as women and yeah, okay, as men too, but I can't fight off
yeah.
a big
Well,
guy.
yeah. One guy would have been, fine. Maybe two would have been like, okay. But like when it was three, I'm like, okay. And it was just weird how they all came together and they were all walking. And it was like just creepy.
Were they
So
talking to each other or were they just walking?
they were just walking. Like it was,
Oh.
it was one of those weird nights where like even today is it's beautiful out for Halloween.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it was just
76 degrees.
right in Rochester. So
Hmm.
like walking, all I could hear was the footsteps. And it's like and they were kind of walking in unison, which was also freaking weird, like marching band unison. I'm like, this is just
Hmm.
like creepy. So I think that's also to this day, like, and I've done it for you, I've done it for just Jessica Connelly, other people. Like,
Yeah.
it's when we're leaving, I walk you to your cars.
Yeah.
And I
It's for
think
the
that's
best.
where I've even got it from. It's just like, make sure. And even when people are
Hmm.
like, I'm fine. I'm like, let's just make sure.
Yeah.
So,
No, definitely.
but
Yeah, as you were telling that story, I was like, oh, he's a woman, so now it's
well,
like dressed as a woman, you're gonna have a
yeah,
different experience. It's
and
gonna
that's the thing, and that was part of it. And the creepiest part was, this might have actually been I was a woman one other time for Halloween. I think this was college actually, but yeah, it was because I was dancing and at a like a local like establishment, and some guy hit on me. And then a girl, I remember she pinched my butt, and I was like dressed as a girl. I'm like, this is just too much. So like I'm not being a girl for Halloween ever again.
Yeah,
So
yeah. How's
uh
that?
how's that? Well,
Well, you're not that type of guy, so
yeah.
that's a good thing. Like you wouldn't like pinch someone's butt or anything like that,
No, it's not me.
but
It's not me.
there are many men who would and think that it's okay to like
Yeah.
just come up and touch somebody. Or women,
Yeah.
some women think but women to women, it's a little like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
It's a strange world we live in with all that.
it is. Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's, if I know my friend's going to pinch my butt, but like if an unknown woman did it, I would be like, why are you pinching my butt?
you've got some weird
But,
friends.
but yeah, but if a man is going to do it, I'm going to be like, you are getting slapped in the face now.
Yeah.
Like that's,
Yeah, there's some limits there, but I think I would establish some limits with your female friends as well, Jess. It's kind of weird.
they're being silly. it's fine if
Or are they really?
or maybe they're hitting on me. I don't
I
know.
know.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think it is about that time, my friend.
it's about that time. All right. So, whether it is a cider mimosa or ghosts, keep your spirits up.